say that she did not stand by her words. She did not believe what she said out of her mouth to be true, even at the time in which she said it.
I didn't
And
like
that she
that.
said it to Candy because she knew Candy was strong enough and that she could handle it. Now, with that being said, I like to read a quote
Okay.
from the University of Minnesota study on gender policy.
Okay.
The belief that Black women, and we can swap this, in my opinion, for Black people. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to Call In, Call Out, the exclusive after show of Drag from the Left, your weekly digital series where we review season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race from a radical leftist perspective. This is a pro-Black platform. I've been hitting my pen.
Lord.
This is a pro-Black platform. This is a Black Trans Lives Matter platform. This is a fuck the police and down with the patriarchy platform.
Yes.
We'd like to thank you all for being here. Once again, be sure to follow us online at Drag from the Left. That's DRAGFTL. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Christian Mingle, Grindr, Scrub. Anywhere you want to see,
Jack.
we're Jack. Everywhere. We're everywhere. You just look us around, searched all over. You know, we're everywhere. You can also stream our podcast on all podcasting platforms, wherever you listen to them, whether it be Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on all the different platforms. We appreciate you. If you go to the link in our profiles, you will find the link to our link tree that has everything there for you to go and digest our content. Hey, if you like it, comment, share, let people know, share it with others. And also feel free to always tweet at us using hashtag Drag from the Left. That's DRAGFTL. Feel free to tweet with us. Just to get into some of the other things that we do, our podcast is recorded live on Sundays at 6 p.m. Edited versions of that episode come out on the Wednesday following. We also do some additional things on our social media from time to time. We're Reading is Fundamental, where we go through some social justice definitions and some political education for our audiences. We also live tweet the episodes on Friday night, so tune in for our drunken, intoxicated live tweeting. We have us a good old time over there.
I was nice and drunk on Friday.
You get to guess if it's me or Avery. Like, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. It could be both.
Sometimes we don't know. Yeah.
We don't be knowing. Sometimes I accidentally be logged. I be thinking I'm logged into mine, and I be logged into that one, and I have to like.
Yeah. I always catch it. I fixed it. I fixed it for her. I was like, she thinks she on her personal account right now.
I retweeted the thing I just tweeted. Like, I just don't make no sense. Like, but this is why, great minds think alike. We are two heavily melanated, queer ass, hairy ass, sexy ass motherfuckers, and this is why Avery, this is why you're my creative partner. Like, this is why.
Yes, this is why we do what we do together.
This is what we do. Let's get into this call in, call out, because there is so funny how Drag Race is the gift that keep on giving. It is so much fucking tomfoolery and gaggery.
So much.
What did Guy Mix say? Gagatondra in this
this
damn
girl.
show. It is just so much.
This girl in this LA girl accent and string. She got me lucky. I like her. All right. Because this voice.
I'm gonna leave the reach for Got Me to the minimum, but I do have one little comment on what girl got me out this day today. But
I think I know where you're getting at because I have the same.
Anyway, this episode is full of so much bullshit that we can talk about. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Let me go first. So I can get this off my chest because ever since Friday, I was like, I cannot wait to get behind this mic and say what I have to say. This episode gave us a lot of material, a lot of things to work with, as far as social political commentary. The one that I am going to extrapolate on is Miss Utica Queen. So there's been a lot of discourse online about her approach to cultural sensitivity. Right, last week with Snatch Game, it was about the afro and replacing the afro with the squirrels, which I thought was pretty cute and non-offensive. After listening to some other things and hear some other opinions, I can see how that could come off as offensive. But that was last week. This week, Utica was hesitant to wear the Baps outfit because Simone said, "I'm going to put you in this in this unique, custom, widely known look from a black ass movie. And Utica thought that was inappropriate. Well, she made a comment that she doesn't know if it's appropriate, right? Because she is Lily White, and she is going to wear a costume that we know to be pretty culturally black, right? For me, I appreciate that, right? Part of being a co-conspirator, what liberals like to call an ally, is always interrogating um, our thought processes, our beliefs, especially when it comes to cross-cultural, relationships, right? And this is what we see Utica doing actively in real time, always interrogating, always asking the questions, even if it is annoying, even if it's unnecessary, or we believe it to be unnecessary. She is still doing the work, and I genuinely believe she wants to hold herself accountable at all angles. Now, whether that is because she is a genuine co-conspirator slash ally, or because she just doesn't want to be read by the fan base, or she doesn't want to be read by random people on the internet and get dragged or canceled in air quotes, because cancel culture is not a thing. Um, Either way, it's necessary interrogation, right? I think. So I think it really comes down to the appreciation versus appropriation conversation, which is the route I think RuPaul should have taken when someone asked that very important question. I think Utica's hesitancy, she doesn't want to seem appropriative of a culture that is not hers. How people are annoyed by that, I don't know. But I have some speculation. I think people are annoyed with Utica because they don't like her. She is quirky, she is weird, and I think some people don't like that.
She's also very religious too, and that also
she's also very religious. And us as queer folk, we have a right to be skeptical of really religious people, especially really religious white people, because colonization, colonialism, religion, Christianity, all those things have worked together to eradicate whole ass cultures, right? Whole ass groups of people. I also think people are annoyed with Utica because she can't be placed in a box, right? She is quirky and she is weird, but she's also religious, but she's also gay, but she's also a fashion girl. She's multifaceted. She has a lot of moving parts. And I think the thing about American culture that is wholly and fundamentally a white supremacist culture is we tend to think in binaries. And when someone doesn't fit neatly within the box, it's an automatic problem. So I think that's where the fan base is annoyed with Utica, right? If this were Aquaria or Miss Cracker or, one of them other Lily White queens, Alaska maybe, and then we're having these same conversations, and again, this is pure speculation, but I think they would be praised.
Well, it's not speculation because Aquaria, like on the sibling,
and Aquaria does do this. I'm not saying that these people don't do that.
It's celebrated, and that's what I'm saying. Like they've talked about this. Like, what is the one white queen who you think is the most woke? Also, I think these are very. I love the Similar Every podcast. I'm a big Bob and Monet fan. They have a lot of great conversations over there, but there's also like points where we just don't quite meet. It just don't meet.
Yes. Yes.
So you got your edges is in Asia. You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile, this continent, the two continents just don't.
They don't meet.
But they were like, which queen is the most woke? And they're like, Aquaria. She always, saying and posting and blah, 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 blah. And I do think that is an interesting point on who is celebrated when they do these things and who does not. And we're seeing a lot of these buzzwords going around. Every time people learn a new word, it's hilarious. So like virtual signaling is the buzzword that's going on right now.
I hate it.
It's like, it's virtual signaling. It's virtual signaling. I'm virtual signaling. Y'all virtual signaling. Did you turn your virtual signal on, baby? Your virtual signal bitch. Turn your virtual signal off, girl. Like, okay. Like, damn. Like, also, this week episode, duality seems to be the other word of the week. Duality. Like, girl, what is duality? Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up.
But I will say it's interesting that who we choose, like, you could see it like any baseline, classically desirable white girl, white person in general can say the most baseline, whack level ass shit. And the next thing you know, we like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, girl, they is so,
She's so woke.
period. And I'm just like, absolutely not.
Wonder
And if we
Wonderful
want to,
ally.
and if we be honestly, to me, what's virtual signaling is all these white people on gay dating apps who put Black Lives Matter in their bios. That to me is virtual signaling. That is virtual signaling.
Come
Because what
on,
you're
and
doing,
on their Twitter bios.
most often to me, virtual signaling is used by the group that is the haves to find more ways to gain proximity to the things that they find desirable about the have-nots, so that they can participate in the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent of these communities without giving any actual shit about their humanity. That is when we use the word virtual signaling. Virtual signaling is not my Black Lives Matter t-shirt. Like, y'all, it's much more in-depth. I really want y'all to do is when you open the chapter, okay, I want you to read more than the forward. Okay, I need you to go through and I need you to go through, I need you to go read the chapter headings, the subtitles, the italicized language, follow that asterisk, go do the footnotes, Google
read the footnotes.
Research it. Okay, there's so much it's so much to be had. And this is outside of like the scholarship. If you go on Twitter and you see a tweet, and I have learned so much about being a better person
from Twitter.
On Twitter. You click on something that has an opinion that or angle that you hadn't really heard of before, and you click on that, and you don't just read that tweet, you read the whole thread that's attached to it.
You read the whole
then
thread,
you go to that person's page, and you kind of see what they're talking about. Then you see what the people that's commenting is talking about, and there's normally a really good cited source that's available when people go and do those threads. Then you read that. Then you can learn so much. But to just be like, oh, if I just sit on duality, I like, girl, goodbye. Did you just get a thesaurus or a dictionary today? Like, good.
They did. Which brings me to my next point: nuance and context. It matters and it's necessary. So let's dig into some of that context of Miss Utica Queen, right? And when they are filming, we have mentioned this on the show before. They are filming, I think, at the tail end of summer 2020.
Yeah.
Right. Which was a very tumultuous, heavy. We know we all lived through it, right? Protests literally every single day.
Yep.
Utica Queen.
It was like 100 and some consecutive days, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally. People out in the streets literally every day in the middle of a pandemic fighting for racial justice, whatever, they view racial justice, or however they mean that. Utica Queen is from Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed.
Yep.
Right? So I don't know Utica's woke journey, I'll say, but for most white people, like we've seen, for a lot of them, it was a wake-up call to be like, well, maybe I need to be thinking about these things a little more. Maybe I need to be interrogating these things a little more. And we are seeing that in real time on camera as it was happening. How no one can appreciate that is beyond me, right? Also, so I saw this on Twitter. Someone by the name of Exhausted Queer gave a little bit more context to Utica's situation. Apparently, Utica was named. She was elected to be the leader of a pride parade, and she got huge backlash from that because it was right after the murder of George Floyd, right? They're both from Minneapolis. And the community was pushing for a Black queen to lead the parade because, of our current social political condition. So Utica is taking all of these experiences that she has had to deal with pretty recently, right? Put on the biggest platform, put on the biggest stage for drag ever in the world, right? Yep. She now has millions of eyes on her, while also trying to work through all of this, right? So when she is asking these questions, I genuinely believe that she is doing it in good faith because of the time she is living in, the time she is filming, and the hyper visibility that is on her. Right. I think she genuinely wants to do right. And sometimes she doesn't always know how to do right. So she does what people do when they don't know. They ask questions. What is wrong with asking a question? What is wrong with saying, I don't know if this is appropriate?
Right.
Especially given my current experience where I just got trashed because I was elected the leader of a pride parade that I didn't even ask to be. I didn't even ask to happen
Right.
in a city where terrible racist police killed this innocent black person by kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes, and it was caught on camera. We all have to watch it on the loop.
Right.
Right. I just came from a city that is on fire, literally on, and for good reason, on fire. So now I have to come here, be on TV, and I want to make sure I'm handling my platform and this hyper visibility as responsible as possible.
Right.
Why is that a point of contention?
And to that point is on a television show that has definitely used the movement that is happening this past year as a point for its storytelling, as a marker for its profiting, and then isn't framing the work that Utica is doing in a way that is not just important but necessary. It's actually dangerous anti-black violence, in my opinion.
Actually, quite actually.
For RuPaul not to really give something to that situation, for editing not to frame that situation, for people not to really talk about like, yo, Utica, I think it's really, really dope how you center people who are marginalized, use your privilege to prop up others, and to also critically think about the things that you are doing and how they affect the world around you. You should do that, and guess what? The rest of you should as well. You know, and that Utica literally has not done anything to me, and I don't feel virtuous in it. What I feel appreciated, and I feel that this is a person that if they stepped on my toe and I told them they stepped on my toe, they not gonna tell me now that they feelings is hurt because I done told them that they done stepped on my toe. You know what I'm talking about,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So let's juxtapose this situation with Utica to what just happened with Sharon Osbourne, right? Let's marry these conversations and get into it, because Sharon Osbourne sat up on that show to talk and told who are the other co-hosts of that show? I don't really watch that show. I just seen the clip because it's been popular culture. Yeah, but she wasn't talking to Sharon. Who was she talking to? She told some black woman not to cry. Pretty much told her how to behave and how to feel about certain issues. I should be the one crying. It's
Cheryl Underwood. She was talking to Cheryl Underwood.
Cheryl Underwood. Yes, that's what she was talking to.
And this conversation had to do with the Piers Morgan. What was going on with Piers and them?
Right. So we have a queen. We have a white person. Let's take the drag out of it. We have a white person with a pretty significant platform. That is at least trying to use it responsibly, right? And engaging with social political issues, particularly in this case, race and representation, critically, and trying to do it with some level of tact and responsibility. And on the opposite end, we have a white person who is literally weaponizing their white fragility, their white womanhood, and telling black people how to feel about serious issues that affect our day to day. Exactly. Literal, mental, physical, spiritual. It affects it all. Are you trying to tell me how to feel about it and saying that you are more affected than I am? Because that's essentially what Sharon did. She's saying, I am more affected by this than you, so I should be crying and not you.
Right. And then she held the black person up as a shield against the things that were coming at her for being responsible for it. Because if Sharon Osbourne is to act, and this is why, but this is what I was having this conversation with a white person earlier this week. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, Benji's friend is a social worker, and they were doing a project for their social work degree where they had to interview somebody from a different culture than them, or whatever. And we were kind of having a conversation. To me, I really need to stop hitting this pen. To
put it down. Pick it back up.
They're having a conversation to a similar point, which I have not lost and will come back to me. But Sharon Osbourne to hold. Oh, here it is. The point is for Sharon to actually admit, right, and to agree and to validate the feelings that are going on that Piers Morgan's behavior is inappropriate will also mean that they would have to talk apart the parts that they are complicit in and doing the same things and doing the same anti-black behavior, right? And they can't hold that. And I was talking about what it means to actually to be anti-Black, to support, to want to have proximity to Black people, to want to have proximity to other marginalized groups of people, entails you having to, one, give something up first off, which they don't ever want to do that. They don't ever want to share. Okay, and then take a responsibility for one's part in it, because by sharing, just agreeing and letting know like what peer, and just straight out calling what it is, calling a thing, you know what I'm saying? Well, when you point the finger at somebody else, you got to point the fingers back at you. You know what I'm saying?
Hello?
So Sharon can't sit there and talk about how her whiteness and her position in elitism and all that money that she got has perfectly put her in the position to do anti-Black harm to people around her, and that's all that was right there. So she want to double and triple traumatize another Black person, gaslight them, and then hold them up as a shield of protection against themselves. Right. And I'm supposed to feel bad for you. And then I'm supposed to feel bad for you. Does the complete opposite.
And catches hell from it. Yeah. There's a disconnect.
Which one is it?
There's a disconnect here, and people, there are a lot of people who are not being honest about this. And I think they really need to investigate why they feel so strongly about Utica asking really intentional and important questions in regards to race and representation.
Well, people say, because the same conversation happened on, do you watch on Snatch Game, right? There's a conversation to be had about Raven, right? And how dark that they painted, right? And about the colorism. And they were like, well, if we call out Raven, we got to call out some of the other people for getting them dark tans and wearing this. Yeah, we do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. We can't just be like, we're not going to say it because now all of a sudden we got to call out everybody. Yes, we do. This is what we need.
Call out everybody.
Shifted the culture, and that's what needs to happen. You know, we need to move the meter.
And it's less about calling out everybody. Yes, people need to be called out, but it's also about calling out the systems that perpetuate this bullshit.
Exactly.
Right? Let's dig a little deeper.
And protecting and honoring the individuals whose lives are harmed because of the behavior that you are complicit in.
Exactly. Let's dig a little deeper. Again, nuance. Right? I love when you said, when you open the book, read more than the foreword. Read the book. And then go to the bibliography and read some of the things that are in there.
Okay, the annotated bib.
If the book is good.
Okay, the citation
if the book is good, because there's some bullshit literature out here that you don't need to be reading. But if the book is good, right? Let's not speak on things we don't know about. Let's not add words to our lexicon that we really haven't researched or studied, and we're using them improperly, like virtual signaling, like duality. Like Tina Burner saying Jesus be a biscuit all out of context, right? That's a more lighthearted one, but still.
She didn't say Kiki sisters no more. She ain't said Kiki sisters no more.
And you shouldn't, because it don't make no sense. Okay.
Kiki fucking sister. The fuck is that?
All right. I've spent enough time on this. I just want people to be honest about why they feel this way about Utica. I want people to be consider context, because it matters. Have these conversations with the nuance that they deserve and that they warrant. And ask yourselves hard questions. None of us are perfect out here. We're all human. Ask yourself questions. Why am I annoyed by Utica, but giving hell to Sharon Osbourne, right? What is the similarities and differences in these situations, and why do I feel differently about both of them? Is it about the person? Is it about the situation? Is it about the politics? Right? Interrogate those things. That's how we evolve, not only as people, but politically. Right.
Yeah, and I think
so we can move on.
These two common themes come into play when we do these things. Oftentimes, these two things happen that make people uncomfortable, and we need to learn to also sometimes sit in uncomfortability. So what happens is people have to admit that they are complicit in these behaviors themselves, or that they exist in proximity to people that also commit these acts of harm. Okay, and then the other thing that happens when we talk about is that we thus then realize that we are often the victims of what this is pointing. Are you choking and dying? Can you talk?
Sorry, I muted myself. I drank water and went down the wrong pipe.
Child, I was like, please don't die. Not on the screen. Oh, not on the screen, please. I have enough trauma. There's not enough medicine in the world for me to take for that.
I'm fine. My water went down the wrong pipe.
Wait, like you just don't care.
I'm sorry.
Like I said, when we talk about these things, two things different happen and both cause uncomfortability. One, we have to admit that we are complicit in these behaviors and we have proximity to people who also do these things. Or on the other half, that we are victims of this type of harm and violence that happens towards us. And that is a lot to deal with as well. And some of us, we just want to close our eyes and pretend like we don't see it. You know?
Exactly.
And I get it, but we at some point it gotta give. The well has to break. Okay. The well has to break, and we got to. Okay, break it. The shackles off my feet so that I may dance.
Break every chain.
Oh God, but her homophobic ass, she get on my nerves.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like,
I think it's gonna say something.
I cannot. It ruined it for me because she performed that song live on national television, and at the end of the song, she gonna say, there is healing from homosexuality. I'm
Girl.
like, what the homosexuals do?
We looking like Nene. Now why am I in it? I ain't even did nothing.
I ain't in it. We done did your hair. We done sold your dress. We done did your damn makeup. Okay? We done probably helped tie that corset on your big ass. I don't understand why you want to to me.
Her and Kiara shared.
They get on my damn nerves.
Leave us out of it. Leave us out of y'all shit. Like, we ain't did nothing to nobody.
And it's so funny because they're the ones that literally their success is literally draped around queer people. Who writing?
Hello?
Who playing the instruments?
Who going to your shows? Us.
Okay, because I want you to know, okay, my last two partners was church boys, okay? The gay boys is all up in church. They everywhere.
All
they
up in church.
They hit the damn church.
There is no black church without black queerness. Let's just keep it real.
Wouldn't have shit. You wouldn't have
y'all wouldn't have church. Y'all be out here looking like, let me stop. Let me not. Let's go to our next.
They're not ready for that.
They not.
I'd like to talk about one transitional point on this Utica and Simone situation, or Simone and Utica situation. Is I also like to talk about what is permissible and who is allowed to give people permission to do certain things. So in this moment, Simone is permitting, right, Utica to participate in her culture, right? And she's also giving her parameters in which to do so. So to quote Simone, if you focus on me and not just my skin tone, you're not performing my skin tone, you performing who I am as a complete human being. Right? It's not about that, because people love to get caught on the skin tone. People love to get caught on these things. Because what happens is it's the same thing. Going back to the beautiful Toni Morrison, is that we've created these metrics, right? These meters on like things that just give us credibility and accountability that are not really marked on any actual merit, right? And race and gender performance and sexuality are these things. This is like why when you have somebody like Halle Bailey that's cast as Ariel, everybody's like, but she doesn't have red hair. But she doesn't have red hair, you know, like
girl, it's a cartoon.
Mermaids
character.
aren't real, okay?
Right.
But and also nobody's hair is fire engine truck red. She wasn't a ginger. That bitch had ghetto black girl red hair. That's who wear that color hair. Who else wear that color hair?
Tina Burner.
I am through with you. Okay, but we have to talk about what's permissible, right? There are things where you can. There are things where an individual can almost lead and tell you how you can participate, right? In their culture, right? But then with that same thing being said, there are things that people cannot share with all of them, right? Because, for example, T.S. Madison has a really good conversation about this. Somebody came up to T.S. Madison in the club, and I'm gonna put all the trigger warnings in here, but like somebody came to T.S. Madison in the club, somebody that she knew, a homegirl that she kicked it with, and they referred to T.S. Madison as a man, right? And T.S. was like, who are you talking to? Because like they were just really taking like, that's not, I'm not a man, so I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, oh, your homegirl let me call her dude and blah 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 all the time. Well, you call her that because you can't, you know what I'm saying?
You can't do that to me.
Okay, or black people that permits their friends to say nigga. And I don't say N-word. What the fuck is an N-word?
Say the word.
Nigga. Okay. First off, you don't have permission because that is like, there are things that you do not have permission. You know what I'm saying? To do. We had the same conversation last week where T.S. Madison said from one trans to another, right? There's a reason that they were able to say that to each other that way. And even within that community, that probably rubbed some other trans individuals the wrong way. But this is still between, that's their business though, right? That's between between them and they folk. So we need to be careful, and we need to have some nuance, and we also and when we're dealing with that. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm so glad we talked about that because it again, this is 2 weeks in a row. And why does this keep happening to Utica? Why Utica, the one queen that want to do the right thing, keep getting asked to do something that they don't want to fucking do?
Listen.
And this is what happens when you try to do the right thing. The system makes it so difficult, but they make it easy for somebody like Elliot to go around and spew microaggressions at all their friends. That's easy, right? They don't
and
call
come in
that.
and do that. I'll dip.
Okay.
Ooh, that.
And they talk
Girl,
about that in whispers. They talk about that in whispers
come
in
on.
coded language. But they just
I
want to
don't
tell
think
you
she's
because you're doing too
racist.
much. It's
Right.
not racist, but also racist is not a bad word. It is a word. Okay. You just need to call what the behavior is. It is what it is.
Come on.
Okay,
It is what it is.
We need to put labels on things. That's why Catholics, they can name demons by name. Now I don't know if I want to be that. But I'm just saying, if you gonna try to exorcise, you want to call something out, you need to call it as its
call
name.
it by its name. Yeah.
You need to call it by its name.
Or it's not gonna respond, or it won't respond.
It ain't gonna respond to you. So that is important to do. That is very important to do. So thank you so much. Mm-hmm. I would like to take a moment to talk about Candy Muse.
Okay.
Outside of Candy's drag, which, that's all like opinion, like either I like this outfit, I don't like that outfit, but I want to talk about Candy as existing in the world as a person, right? Yeah. As a fat, queer person of color, right. And what that looks like and how and the implication that has. When we were on the runway and Root asked the infamous question, right? It was clear that by the judge's comment and by what was presented on the stage that Candy was not the weakest of the night. Right. That is pretty obvious and pretty clear. And Denali says that she would pick Candy to go home. Right. Now, on the surface, we can go, the game is the game. I'm not going to call myself, I'm not going, whatever. Bam.
Right. And she said she wasn't going to say her partner either.
So. Right. And I respect that. Right. And we go down the line, and then Candy, Candy feels some type of way. So they respond. And I was in a room with people who at first, and I was like, just hold up, just give it a minute, watch it, and let's see how this play out, right? Because what we did was the minute Candy responded in a way that was not in the canon of what white people would find permissible to a tone that is acceptable, right? Because she was, because she said it with some gusto, all of a sudden everybody was afraid and worried, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they were just speaking their truth, and I shout out to Lonnie for being like, I'm glad Candy stood up for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And said what they said. Also, I like it from a point of Drag Race because back on season 2, 3, 4, and 5, bitches would just call. I call shade. Hell no, fuck you. Okay?
Tatiana and Tyra were about to come to blows on that runway.
I like that, and we already see how Candy was in Tamisha. Candy gonna say, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Candy not afraid of confrontation, but she just said what she said. Now, fast forward a few minutes into the episode when we go into the Untucked. Candy's like, I just want to know why people picked who they picked. And then Denali goes on to say that she did not stand by her words. She did not believe what she said out of her mouth to be true, even at the time in which she said it. And that she said it to Candy because she knew Candy was strong enough and that she could handle it. Now, with that being said, I like to read a quote from the University of Minnesota study on gender policy.
Okay.
The belief that Black women, and we can swap this, in my opinion, for Black people, are tireless, deeply caring, and invulnerable has arguably helped maintain exploitative hierarchical arrangements at home, in the workplace, and in society while contributing to a negative health outcome. This goes on to then say that Black women, and for this purpose, we can swap this as Black people, are especially vulnerable to chronic psychological stress as a result of suppressing pain and anger while striving to put others at ease and counteract negative stereotypes of themselves as negative, angry, or lazy. I think it is utterly inappropriate for Denali to try to use Candy as a shield for their personal insecurities, particularly in a competition with these girls is directly correlated to their livelihoods. You know what I'm saying? And why do you code Candy as so strong that they can carry the burden of your lie? And then you want them to sympathize with you when you ask them, well, you know what kind of position I was in. Then why don't you say Rose? Why didn't you say Tina Burner?
Right.
Why didn't you say, you could have just lied and said Simone, because there was no way Simone was gonna go home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You could have said you could have said anybody. Why would you pick Candy? Because you coded her.
You could have said, Candy, I picked you because I don't like you. I'd have respected that way more.
But that's what I would do. But to call her as strong, I mean, you done been in the bottom, you done got the double save. What type of racist, anti-Black bullshit is that? And people won't necessarily see it as such, but this is what happens, right? We
Yes.
get coded as strong and powerful and impervious and and imperishable, and that we have to just take blow after blow after blow, and not for even for ourselves, but for others, where
But
we
for you.
receive no benefit.
Right.
But we receive no benefit. And then you did the same thing to Olivia. You say like you felt you were in the bottom for your partner. Olivia did not do a good job, baby, but neither did you. You had Olivia out there looking ugly as fuck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hair that was busted from the time you walked in. Whose fault was that wig? I think that is highly inappropriate. I like to read. I was in this play. I talked about it before about how blood go, and there's this very moving monologue by the character in the play written by Lisa Langford. Look her up, and I'm gonna read this monologue, and I'm not gonna read it in my acting performance because when I tried to do it earlier, I started crying. So I'm just gonna read it, as regular.
Yeah.
This passage says, "Strong, that's strong. Black women, that's what they say are strong. Not like healthy strong, but just strong. Like we made out of whatever's indestructible. Yeah, that. Healthy is green and rooted. It bends. It grows and bends. But strong just bends over. That's how it feel. We all bent over, wearing the weight of the world, a lonely cloak of nope. No ma'am, not you. Strong is hella fly, but yet more likely to die. We give life, we die. We get checked, we die. We get insurance, we die. Black don't crack, but strong wear down, wear out, weathers.
Ooh.
We look good, but inside we corroded. We rust, we rot. I used to think that we all we got, but then I figured out God is a black woman. She don't want to be up in heaven with nothing but white people, white angels, white saints, white clouds, and harp music. She like, oh my God, girl, hold up. I'm good. I'm God herself. A sail looked like a crystal to her. She hold it up to herself, fill it with light, till there are doubles and triples of infinity beautiful in lungs and lymph nodes and black bodies, hiding, waiting, ready for strong to give way so we can bring us home. And this whole section is just about how the labored and tired and breaking down and weathering that happens to black people until there's nothing left but to perish. And we can't seem to see no rest, to get no glory until we dead and gone. And this is not something that is made up and make believe and fantasy and mythology. This is something that we see play out every day. This is why the average life expectancy of black trans women is what, 33, 34, 35, when the average life expectancy of the white American male is somewhere above 80 years old. This is
why black women continue to die during childbirth.
This is the people who gave birth to civilization all of a sudden can't have babies no more. Make it make sense.
Ooh, say that should have. Let me write that much.
Okay,
put it on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt.
And this is what I'm talking about. So I'm not saying that Denali is this vicious, attack, but we have to think about what we say, right? Yes. We have to think about what we do. We could use a little
the impact
in this
of
moment.
What we said.
The impact
yes.
of what we say.
We can use a whole lot of Utica.
And yet still though, Candy on the show early on was judged for being loud, aggressive. Well, this is what the behavior of an individual who has been harmed and chronically attacked and had to protect themselves. And this is why, because other people have relied on and postured them to have to be strong at the benefit of someone that is not themselves. So why wouldn't she act that way? Because y'all bitches just tried to comfort her. Denali, you put me in the bottom and then go tell me later on that you thought I was good and should stay? That don't make no sense to me.
So now, we talked about this before. So now do I not only have to deal with the hurt that you imposed on me on the runway, but now you also want me to coddle you and bring me in your bosom. So now I'm working overtime.
Yep.
Because now I got to deal with the hurt that you
overtime
caused.
With no pay.
Come on.
Sounds like
so now slavery. I was gonna say that, but I just let that one. It sounds like an inequitable system where I have to labor 2 times over for your benefit,
and for my detriment. It doesn't
and actively contributing to my own detriment.
Yeah, it's just so many layers on layers on layers. You harmed on the front end, the
Yes.
back end, the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
And from all other sides,
I,
right?
and if you want to tell me everything's not about race, everything's not
Yes, it
about.
is.
Yes, it is,
Yes, it is. I
bitch.
hate when people say that. I hate when people say that shit. Everything is quite literally about
About
race,
race.
and it's white people fault because y'all invented it.
It's white people fault. Y'all made it up.
Y'all literally invented the concept of race, and you did it to impose a hierarchy. You
And
did
every
it to
time we
oppose a
ask,
caste system.
period. And every time we ask you to let it go, let it go. Every time, every single time.
You hold on tighter. You grasp on tighter. Every time we say, lay your burdens down, take it to the leave it at the altar.
At the altar,
You would rather pick it up, grab hold of it, and hold on for dear life.
They
and
rather
but want to
die.
tell me
They rather let their own
quite
people
literally
perish. They will let
quite
their
literally
own people perish. Because if we want to be quiet, as quiet as it's kept, white supremacy don't work for white people either. Because time
sure
and time
doesn't.
again, the poor white people keep dying at the hands of their own people, but yet they want to point fingers at us when the same person that's causing their life to be fucked up is them.
It's them. It reminds me so much. Y'all know I'm a history teacher, so of course now I have historical references coming to me. It reminds me so much of the Reconstruction era when and you know poor white people got on board a taste, not all the way on board, but they was like, y'all are newly y'all are newly emancipated and y'all ain't got no money or no land. We have a little bit of land, but no money at all. Why don't we work together? Right? Why don't we build some coalitions and work this thing out together? Right? Because we share a common goal.
Yep.
Right. But what the thing that the reason why they shit the bed with that was their beholdenness to this racial caste system.
Yep.
We see it happen time and time and time again throughout history. We see it during the Reconstruction era. We see it during the Civil Rights era, which is sometimes dubbed the Second Reconstruction era. Right? We've seen it recently in 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. Poor white people voting against their own best interest because of whiteness. Right?
Period.
So you cannot sit up earnestly look me in my face and tell me why do we make everything about race. It's your fault everything is about race. It's quite literally your fault.
I can't wait till y'all can see me because, like, I just can't. I cannot. In the words of Jocelyn Hernandez trying to push that baby out her cooter, I cannot. I cannot. You know, that pisses me the fuck off. But you know, and then it's so sickening because then they want to take us and then show the video of Candy's mom being so beautiful and so loving and uplifting.
So proud of her baby.
And so proud. She was like, "You can't make no money off that." She's like, "Well, you done proved me wrong, baby. Go ahead on."
Yes.
But she knew what was up. She's like, the only way you gonna do something with this is if you on RuPaul Drag Race. So
right. Her mama quite literally spoke that into existence for her. Right. When we say that Black and brown people, sometimes we are hanging on by a thread by the prayers of our mothers and grandmothers and our ancestors and elders.
Well, her mama told her she had goat mouth. She said she had goat mouth.
And like, I love that Candy said that because that is not an uncommon thing for Black mamas to say, like at all, right? And it's actually biblical, right? The power is in the tongue, right? People say that to us literally all the time. Whatever you say,
life
you will it into existence.
Is in the power of the tongue,
right?
You speak things into existence,
right? So I believe Candy's mama, and I believe Candy, and I think that's the reason why. And again, this is me speaking as a non-Candy fan. I believe Candy said one day, I'm going to get on RuPaul's Drag Race and I'm going to be a star. Right? Period. And here she is. Whether you like it or not. Whether I like it or not. Mama's a star.
Yep.
Right? So let's... Go ahead.
Okay. So
no, because I was going to switch gears. So go ahead.
Me too. The last thing I want to talk about, because we only got about like 7 minutes to talk about it, is I like to talk about the moment where excuse me, where Gottmik, Kate talks about their experience with their transition, right? And we haven't really had this type of conversation before on RuPaul's Drag Race because RuPaul's Drag Race has structurally and overtly denied the existence of Black people and trans people on this show. And they've had several other people of the trans experience on this show that could talk about this. And it's interesting now that there's a male trans contestant, a white male trans contestant on the show, whose story is allowed to be talked about, and whatever. Nonetheless, that ain't got nothing to do with Mick on the front side. That got everything to do with the show on the back side.
Everything to do with the show. Yes, and the franchise.
But, Mick talks about the pressure of the binary, right? And you tweeted about this earlier, about the gender binary as a colonial object, right? And like how oppressive it is. So even in the process of transitioning, which is literally the rejection, the denial, and just moving away from what the person told you that you were, and then somebody, and you becoming who you say you are still burdened and weighed down, right, by the lie of gender, right? And like God Mick used to only be in drag in public so that they would not, so that they would not be clocked, you know what I'm saying, as a person assigned female at birth, so that somebody would invalidate their maleness. So they had to dress up as a caricature of a woman so that they wouldn't be attacked for being a man.
Right.
And it also, I think, cannot be separated from the obsession that cis people, that people in general in America have with people's genitals, right? And like physical and surgical transitions, there are tons of people, I think, in which could be, and this is from my own experience as a non-binary person, like when I realized it and felt like I wasn't a man, right? I was like, well, I guess the only other option is I gotta be a girl. Well, I'm not, right? And there's nothing about my physical representation, about my being, that I would like to change that would make me feel more comfortable in my gender, right? It has all to do with the pressures and systems and boxes that people want to put me in, right? And I should be able, Cade themselves should be able to look however they want to. And if they look you in your face and they tell you that they are who they are, you have nothing to say but thank you for sharing.
But okay, and thank you.
Okay, and thank you. Okay, so to just continually feel trapped, you know what I'm saying? And this is the type of stuff that directly correlates to violence that happened to people. This is the pressure, and people want to talk about people, and this happens too. This is not a problem, right? The death grip of the gender binary does not just affect trans people. Right? They want to talk about why all the girls want to get booty injections and they want to make, it's always a funny scene in a movie or something. Why do people want to go and get butt and lip injections and illegal breast implants in the alley and in the house? Because if they don't, then you treat them like shit.
Yeah, their womanhood is now in question because they don't, for you, they don't look like a woman. They don't look like how a woman is supposed to look. This also correlates to sexuality too. We have been seeing, if you're on Twitter, if you're on social media, I'm sure you have seen the videos of Salt Bae feeding people as they are cooking, right? And when he goes to feed a dude, a cis person, who are we presuming to be, cisgender and heterosexual male, instead of being fed, they'll either deny it or take it off the knife and eat it themselves, right? Because that's not what men do. Everything is about dick, right? Can't be about nothing else, right? I never want to be, but the translation is I don't want to be seen as less of a man because if I do this, that equates to homosexual behavior in all air quotes because y'all can't see me, right? So if I engage in this sus behavior, then I am now being less of a man, right? So when we talk about these transphobia and all these, colonial things, how they just don't affect trans people, trans people get hit the hardest with it, but it affects cis people too in a real way. Your fragile masculinity, that box you have to fit in, the reason why you think you can't cry. So y'all was just online talking about how you have no safe spaces. Black men, black cisgender heterosexual men have no safe spaces. That's because you're not a safe space for anybody else. That's because you don't interrogate these things that we're talking about now, not in a real and earnest way, where then you can actually break down those walls, step out of that box, and get a little bit more freer, right? But you just want to sit and complain and then reinforce the same harmful systems that don't even benefit you.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about pop culture, and you brought this up, offline with me. But since we're tying in pop culture references, same thing is happening with Zaya Wade, that precious, precious baby, who does not deserve people talking about her and talking about her body and her genitals in this way. She is a child.
What the literal fuck? What the literal
What is wrong with y'all? What is wrong? It's giving pedophilia to me, quite honestly.
I mean, that's the category. That's clearly the category.
And y'all are walking firmly in it. Y'all get 10.
I thought gay people and trans people was pedophiles. I thought that was us that was pedophiles.
That's the narrative you try to write for us, but you are literally obsessed with the genitals of a 13-year-old baby.
Right. And she who got two whole ass, grown ass, able-bodied, intelligent parents with resources. They know what they doing.
They know what they doing. They love and support their baby. Child.
And shame on Claudia fucking Jordan. Shame on you. Because that's
and Vivica Fox.
And Vivica Fox. I don't even see Vivica no more. I'm sorry. Outside of Soul Food, the side of all her movies in the early 90s, I don't want nothing else to do with her. I cannot. Yeah. I cannot. Shame on you, because that same language, that same rhetoric that you are spewing is the same language that is used to harm you. But you want me to show up for you. But you want me to show up for you. But you want to sit here and worry about a child. Also, God damn it, motherfucker, if I wake up on Monday morning and I want to be a girl and I feel like I'm a woman and I'm a woman, and then next Thursday I want to be a fucking giraffe, that's my goddamn business.
That is my business and none of yours.
We are not trapped. This is the whole issue with y'all motherfuckers. Every time we try to do something, y'all want to just try to move it back and just shift it over. Just as we are allowing people and giving people the space to explore their gender, we do not have to trap them in staying in the one. It is not this singular, monolithic, rigid experience that has no flexibility to it. That is not how it exists. Gender is, who is that? Oh, that's you from another angle. Gender does not work that way. That's not how it works. We can weave and bob through all the different ways in which we can present and live and be and share and express. What serves me today may not be the same thing that serves me next week. And if that is difficult for you to process, that is fine. And you go and deal and navigate with that. You handle that.
You take that to the Lord in prayer. You take that to your therapist. You crack open a book. You crack open your journal and you work through that on your own. Okay. But what you cannot do is put your bigotry, quite literally, one on the shoulders of a literal child and on the shoulders of an entire community.
Yeah, right? Absolutely not.
And a community that you share a common struggle, a common goal, right?
Yeah.
I can't with her in that entire show.
If Zaya ever so chose, Deshaun Harris talked about this on their Twitter. If Zaya ever so chose that they wanted to or needed to detransition, right? We have now created an atmosphere that makes it unsafe for her to do so, because we done told her, well, you made a choice, you got to stick with that one.
Right.
No.
Again, just binary thinking, just trying to put people in boxes. That is a real ass tenet of white supremacy. Has to cease to exist, especially if you deem yourself to be social justice oriented, especially if you deem yourself to be leftist or on the left side of politics, right? If you consider yourself to be an ally of these communities, right?
But you know what? These bitches,
these
people don't want to be. These people don't be doing none of that. Well, all they want, time and time again, and this I could just feel in my experience and living, is what people want again is proximity to all the amazing things about yourself. They want it. They want to share in it. They want to bask. They want you to make them feel good. But when it comes to being held and hold and carried and seen
and respected,
and taken care of and respected, and allowed the space to take up space, all of a sudden, you know, I just now we got an issue. I don't have the time for it. So, long story short, my point is that you need to mind your goddamn business. Okay.
Hello.
And you need to not worry about nobody's gender, nobody's genitalia, nobody's outfit. That ain't none of your business. That ain't none of your business. And I'm gonna tell you what,
None of your
even if you
business.
feeding, I don't care if you feeding, clothing, and fucking the motherfucker, it still ain't none of your business.
It's still none of your business. They have autonomy. They have autonomy as a human being.
And if you got
and
some
so
questions,
do you.
There's some answers out here. And I want you to go seek them. But don't I be trying to harm people in the process. You know, how beautiful it would have been for Gottmik to just be able to, once they had realized what the issue was, and for them to fix it so that they could exist in this world in a way that allowed them to do so with feeling love for themselves. How amazing would it have been if they was able to do that from the moment that they got that epiphany, and they didn't have to like play these games with themselves, this mental gymnastics and contorting and juggling for people that's not them.
Right.
If doing backflips make you happy, you do the damn backflip.
You do it.
So
leave me out of it. You do it.
And none of my business. With that being said, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in for another week of Call In, Call Out, the exclusive after show of Drag from the Left, a weekly digital series where we review RuPaul's Drag Race from a radical leftist perspective. I am your hostess with the very mostest, Juanita Bind'Em.
And I'm your other host. My name is Avery. My drag name this week is Chipped Nail.
And we love you all, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.